So thanks for being here, Luke. So you've been an astrologer since 2018.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what began professionally reading for people in 2018. I started my journey in 2014, and I had a bit of a spiritual awakening 2014, 2015. Um, so then I started to make a big transition in my life. My self-image changed, my life changed, my career changed, my relationship changed, everything changed. And then 2018, I began reading for people professionally. And then, yeah, started to just grind away 2019, 2020, COVID hit, and it was just exponential growth from then on in for a couple of reasons. I think people were looking for answers. And then also because they were locked down, um, everything went online. So it's just like, oh, I can do this online. And yeah, huge growth since then. So yeah, here I am.
And so you found that astrology helped you navigate through all those challenges?
Yeah, well, I'm a Virgo, so we always like to question things. We want to know why. We're not interested in just the superficial response. We want to really know the details. Give me the details as to why. And I was always a kid growing up as the why kid, like why? So my parents, I'd ask a question, my parents would give me an answer, and my response would be, yeah, but why? Driving crazy, right? So when I got to a point, sort of midlife in my mid to late 30s, from what I could gather of my worldview, I had ticked the boxes, but I wasn't very happy. So I ticked the boxes of business and relationship and, house and all those things, holidays, mortgages, cars, all that stuff. I had the stuff and I wasn't happy. And to mask my unhappiness, I would drink. So, I drink after work, I drink on weekends, and I'd binge any opportunity I got the chance to have a drink. I'd be like, yeah, let's have a drink. But really, what it was doing is just masking unhappiness.
Mm.
And, when you drink a lot, you end up doing things when you're drinking, saying things when you're drinking that the next day when you're not drinking, you sort of think, oh, did I do or say that? And a few embarrassing moments led me to really question, like, what the fuck am I doing?
Mm.
So 2015, 2014, I made a commitment to stop drinking, put that to the side because I needed to work out what was making me unhappy. And I knew that that wasn't going to help the situation. And then I started to look into things. And long story short, but my gateway drug to, my spiritual awakening was a 9/11 conspiracy video. So give you an idea of like when September 11 happened and then the Iraq war, I was living in London at the time. And I was like, yeah, let's go get them. This is fucked. America, come on. We got to take down the world. That was my mindset. That was my conditioned belief system. And I didn't really have any reason to question that until I did. And a friend had sent me, this is way back in the beginning days of social media and stuff like that. And stuff had started to get shared around. And it sent me a conspiracy. I can't remember the name of the particular one, but at that time, 2012, 13, 14 period of time, there was a lot of videos like Loose Change, Zeitgeist, all those types of movies. And then there was also, your sort of people online making videos about stuff. And that caused me to just go, whoa, hang on a second. What there's a that that didn't happen the way. And there was enough information and evidence presented to question the official narrative. And then me being the nature that I have, uh, I go, okay, well, what else are they fucking lying about? Because once I'd established for me that we'd been lied to, I was like, well, why would they lie and what else are they lying about? Were the two questions that drove me. And I went 2014 and 15 for me was rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole. And through that, I started to come up with my own sort of understanding and meaning and big picture objective perspective on life and consciousness and spirituality and all those things and the repression of a lot of that stuff. Um, through the mainstream. And I come across someone, Santos Bonacci, who's been really pinnacle in my awakening journey, especially my exposure to astrology and the Bible and spirituality from that perspective. And up until that point, I wasn't into any of this. So I started looking. I found online where you could get a free copy of your birth chart and a very basic sort of generic interpretation. And I started reading about myself through the lens of my birth chart, like my proper birth chart. And I was thinking, holy shit, like this is pretty accurate stuff. And this was a generic sort of straight off the internet, press a button, here it is. And I started to think, well, there's got to be something to this. And at the same time as I'm having that, Santos Bonacci's talking about, you know, syncretism and astrotheology, and how the stories of the religions are basically foretelling the mythology of the movement of the stars and the planets. And I was like putting that together and thinking, there's something to this. So I sought a professional astrologer and I got a reading. And then I said, well, teach me this. I need to know. It was like the first time in my life I got something tangible that could help me understand myself and understand the questions I had about myself, my life, my meaning, my purpose, my soul, my evolution, all that stuff that we're never really exposed to or taught. We're just taught, like, you know, go get a good education and meet someone and get a good job and settle down and do all those things. And I found no meaning or fulfillment at a deep level in those things. I found emptiness. So I was like, okay, well, what else is there? Then the whole 9/11 thing was like, well, we're being fucking lied to, completely lied to. And I was like, okay. And then through all of that journey, I started to study astrology, and I learned about myself through the lens of my birth chart, as well as still looking at all the conspiracies. And once you go 9/11, it's like you can't go back. And then you just dig deeper. And then you're coming across things like JFK and the moon landings and, you know, all that stuff that we've been told a story about. And then you start to question and start to see, actually, there's a lot of information and a lot of people with, you know, counter narratives to that. And I was like, okay, there's something fucking going on in the world. And then in 2014, 15, around that time for me, flat Earth dropped. And I remember at the time, I'd come across a few videos and a few people in chat rooms that had sent me links. And I was like, fucking no way. There's no way. Like I just dismissed it, and instantly I thought, what rubbish. Like I thought it was one of those controlled opposition things to like really discredit the whole truth movement and stuff. And I was just like, kept it at arm's length for a while, until someone that I respected, that had sent me a lot of good conspiracy content, had said, hey, you should look at this video. And I did. And I went, the same thing happened that happened when I looked at the 9/11 stuff, which was like, wait a second. Wait a second. There's enough information here for me to question the official narrative around the shape of the earth. And that was just like, and I'd already had the basic understanding of, like, you know, how religion has manipulated the story of our story, which is written in the stars, the human story written in the stars, manipulated that for their own nefarious, you know, means for the control. And then I have this whole, like, we've been lied to about the shape of the earth. What the fuck? What are they? What? It was just like such a mind fuck. And at the time, me being who I was, I wanted to scream it from the rooftops. I was like, everyone fucking loves that. And that was not a time period where people were ready for flat earth. It was like, don't go full retard. I went full retard, especially with people that I knew and close to me and my family and that. And they literally like outcast me, scapegoated me and said, you've lost the plot. You need to see someone. You're fucking crazy. So I learned the hard way of like what to say and when to say and who to say, and ask questions rather than make statements. But I would like to say that now I'm not a flat earther, as in like it's totally flat. I'm just not a globe earther. I just fucking think that is just the most ludicrous thing. And then you can see the way in which that symbolism has been embedded into the collective narrative through the matrix system, which is conditioned reality that we get presented by our media and our governments and our corporations and Hollywood and all those things. And it's that symbolism is embedded in it. Like it's like, why would they use that symbolism so much? Well, so they want to convince people that's what it is, when the reality is something different. I'm like, I hold a very open mind when it comes to the shape of the earth, and I definitely don't think that the story we've been told about it is in any way accurate. And at the moment, I'm more in the flat camp than the globe. But if information comes to light or awareness is brought to me that changes that, I'm ready to shift, you know, in that situation. So then the question becomes, how can you be an astrologer and a flat earther? Very simply, it actually fits really, because one, the globe model puts us as a very insignificant to life here on Earth, that we came from a big bang and we're basically just bacteria that evolved into human consciousness, which is fucking bullshit. And that we're a speck on a speck in a sea of specks that's limitless. So there is no meaning or purpose, or there's no connection. It's just chance, right? It's just chance. We're floating on here. So you might as well YOLO and, who cares? Do whatever you want. Do what thou will, sort of thing. And then the flat model says, okay, no, it's local. This stuff that's above us, our story that's reflected in the stars above us is local to us. The same stars we look at, the same stars our ancestors, thousands, if not millions of years, looked at. And it's all doing this directly above this, which is where we come and experience the physical reality of human life, right? So that puts a lot of significance and meaning and purpose to human life. So that's what helps me just, integrate that concept. Now, do I need to know specifically how those two models work in relation to everything and what happens here? I actually don't need to know all that. I just have to have the sort of open awareness and understanding that it doesn't really change things from an astrological perspective. The meaning attributed to the movement, the placement, the signs, the zodiacs, the planets, and all those from a consciousness perspective does not change one little bit. And if you know a thing or two about symbolism, you know that symbols are embedded with huge amount of information. One little symbol can convey so much to the subconscious and conscious mind. And our ancestors spent millennia embedding symbolism into this cosmos for the map, right? The map of the evolution of what's going on here. So whether it's a global, whether it's flat, it doesn't change that concept or idea. Right. And you can hold two things as being truthful at the same time without one, being, counterintuitive to the other. So I can hold the fact that the Earth's not a globe and the fact that astrology works together. I can't say, oh, well, if you think that the Earth's globe, well, you must have to think that astrology is no good because blah, 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 and this mathematical equation and this and this. And it's like, I don't have to, I can dismiss that and instantly say, no, I hold the understanding of the meaning and the purpose and the knowledge embedded and the wisdom embedded in astrology at the same time as thinking we've been completely lied to about the shape of the Earth. So that's a bit of an intro to why I'm fucking weird.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So look, I haven't come across a flat earth astrologer before, so I was really curious to see like whether there's differences in someone who's a globe astrologer or like, but you explaining that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people would have that question too.
For sure. I don't think they're counterintuitive. I think they're actually very supplemented. Like the flat model puts the Earth at the center, right? And even in astrology, when you read natally for someone, the natal chart is geocentric. In other words, you're at the center of everything. Like the planets, including the sun and moon, are moving and orbiting through the signs, constellations. So it's not a huge stretch to then just replace the globe bit with a flat plane model. It doesn't really change that much. There are a lot of professional astrologers in the globe model that are really, they've got a lot of cognitive dissonance when it comes to the flat model. They just will reject it and ridicule it and dismiss it without looking into it. And I feel like that their ego is sort of grasped an identity onto the intelligence that they've got that's been conditioned to sort of think a certain way, and to, question that would question their whole identity and their belief system, and they just won't allow themselves to do it. So they tend to dismiss and ridicule anyone that's an astrologer that's a flat earther, which I think is a little bit, to their own detriment. So, yeah.
Yeah, I do think regardless of what you think we're on and what this is, in my experience with astrology, it's been very accurate for me. Like when I've looked up my alignments and what it says about those alignments, I'm like, wow, that is me to a T. So I don't think it matters, as you said, goes to show the proof is in the pudding.
Absolutely. And astrology doesn't care what you believe in.
Mm.
Like it's a language. It's written in symbolism. You learn the language of the symbolism. You understand how to interpret it. That's it. Why was it written in symbolism? Because symbolism is universal. So every language here, doesn't matter if you're English or Spanish or Hebrew background, whatever. Symbolism bypasses all that. Symbolism communicates directly to the subconscious mind. So the conscious mind, it's not like we don't use the conscious mind to understand symbolism. We use the subconscious mind, and a symbol activates all the knowledge embedded in that symbol, and it transverses time periods, borders, races, languages. And why would it be written in the stars? Because it's the eternal aspect of this existence. If you write something in stone, it'll erode, it'll break down, it'll be covered in an earthquake or a tidal wave. Like it's not going to last. The material world, the Maya, the illusion, this physical reality is temporal. It's not eternal. That is eternal. And it's that represents the aspect of us that's eternal as well. So it's not like you are your astrology, you are you, and your astrology helps you understand the whole conscious blueprint makeup of you. So yeah, it's the key to complete understanding. It's there's a renaissance happening at the moment. You don't have to look too far in Instagram land to know that astrology is fucking everywhere, and there's a lot of lots of unique perspectives on it from all different points of view. But it's definitely having this sort of, rebirth in this new age that we're going through. But for me personally, it's like it holds the keys to understanding and to awakening and to connecting to the aspect of yourself, which is the soul, the spirit, the eternal part. It's the blueprint for that. And there is a reason why it's ostracized, ridiculed, and outcast from the mainstream sort of narrative, is because the people, that profit from that mainstream narrative are also utilizing the power of the symbolism embedded in astrology. So the very thing that's going to help awaken people, they completely just discredit it, so we
Even
see that.
I think even religion consider it to be like a sin, or like, kind of devil worship or something like that. Yeah. So
Absolutely. And why would they do that? Because their book is written in the symbolism of it. And that book is a very powerful book, right? Whether it's the Quran or the Bible or whatever the scriptures are, it's so powerful and can be used to control.
yeah.
Control what? The mind, and to keep what religion does is says, well, you don't have connection to God. You have to come through us to get to that. Whereas spirituality is like your connection to God is within you, and it fosters that. Whereas religion, and not all religions are not necessarily like, to sort of generalize the whole lot, but in organized religion has this sort of idea of like, well, you're just, mere mortals, and you have to come through this power. We have that knowledge, and you have to trust in this. It's like, what about trusting yourself? What about allowing people to understand that aspect of themselves connected to that, like that deep reconnection, which is what I think's happening here on a big scale. Is that's what we're finding. And some people are finding that reconnection through astrology and spirituality and other means, but ultimately humanity is starting to reconnect to that concept or idea. It's not just like YOLO and you do what you want and there's no repercussions. It's like, no, there's meaning and purpose to this existence. And in this physical life, what are you doing? You're building your own ladder to evolution, to freedom, to liberation. And it's not going to take one life. It's going to take lifetimes and lifetimes to do that, to evolve through, to build this, ladder to enlightenment.
Yeah. I was always just like a sun, like I just knew about my sun sign until a year ago when I started going through my Saturn return. And I was like, okay, I really need to know about this stuff because this, like, what's going on is pretty heavy, right? So that's when I actually got my chart and I looked at it and I thought, holy crap, like the sun sign is just like a little pinch of it. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I'm a Pisces sun, I'm a Pisces moon, I'm Pisces Saturn, I'm Pisces Mercury. Like there's a lot of
Right.
Pisces. So
Right.
yeah, like I really feel a lot, and I couldn't understand why I could just really struggled like with my emotions and feelings and like deciphering what's mine and what's others. And then it allowed me to really see where I was still needing to evolve, because like you said, it's a blueprint. So I know where I've come in here with certain aspects of my chart showing where I need to work. And so I'm still trying to evolve. And being an uninvolved Pisces moon is very painful, just FYI, for me anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
working through that. But I honestly, once I found the chart and I read through it and I understood myself and my blueprint a lot better, it just gave me that awareness and that being conscious of what's going on here, what's playing out, and seeing, okay, that's why I've had that experience, because that's trying to highlight this about me and I need to work through that. So I feel like astrology should be something that once a kid is born, you get their chart and you work with them, and like the moment they can like understand what you're saying, like, and be like, okay, look, this is something you need to work on because this is in your chart. So I think like, yeah, that should be something that needs to be taught in schools or like used in family settings, understanding like how each person's chart interacts with one another, like
Yeah.
how much how helpful and like unnecessary suffering that would bring for people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just really important.
I couldn't agree more. I actually think that it will be the thing that helps us to connect beyond our differences. So, at school, when you get like sort of just inadvertently put into a group because you're that way and they're that way and they're that way and they're girls and you're boys and all of that sort of stuff. And there's not really this understanding of our differences. Whereas astrology cuts through all that and says, oh, well, you've got a Mars and you've got a Mars and you've got a Saturn, you've got a Saturn. And when someone's having their moment and they're really like, and you can be, if you understood, oh, that's their martial energy. They're having a Mars moment. What do I need to do in this situation? Do I come up with my Mars and fight fire with fire? Do I reinforce that conflict, or I just accept, okay, they're having a bit of a Mars moment. Let's just pull back a little bit, allow them to, express themselves and get that energy, that heat, that fire out, and then we can address whatever issues cause that sort of outburst, right? So I think it helps us really connect through our individuality. And it also celebrates the individuality. It's like, oh, you're like you said, all that Pisces energy. Wow, so intuitive and sensitive and emotionally receptive. But also in certain situations when there's too much stimulation, there's an overwhelm happening. So, if someone at school in a school setting, let's say, is being overwhelmed because there's this big, boisterous, loud, sort of a masculine, fiery energy, and someone's in the corner, rather than be like, oh, you're this or you're that, it's like, oh, no, wow. So we have to be mindful that you're super sensitive and that's okay for you to respond to this environment in that way because you're way more sensitive than someone that's just got, Cap Saturn energy, for example. So just that understanding about, the differences and how to understand them, I think is going to be a massive thing to help connect us to one another better. And at school level, I think the fundamentals should be taught. Absolutely, like the fundamentals of the breakdown of the elements, the signs, their expression, their modalities, and things like that. I think it's very, very useful information. I think the reason why it isn't is because, again, it's the tools for knowing who thyself, right? And if you know thyself, you don't have to then be conditioned by what they're trying to tell you who you should be or what you should be doing. You know who you are. And that creates a lot of uh, tension within a system that's designed to keep people all the same, swimming in the same school, right? Fish, same direction, all the same way, and limited consciousness and understanding and things like that. So I think one of my like deep ambitions is to develop a school-like system to teach people about themselves using astrology. Because when you want to learn astrology, there's a lot of stuff to become an astrologer, to learn the full, like all the technical side and all that aspect of it. And not everyone that wants to learn astrology wants to be an astrologer. But I feel like that sort of doesn't allow for those people that want to learn about themselves using astrology. There's not a lot of a platform for that. So, and the other thing is I want to be able to teach kids. I want to, at a very young age, I'm developing some programs to run for people that are being homeschooled, kids that are being homeschooled. So I'm still coming up with the concept and idea of just how to teach and what to teach at the level of where they would be at, so they don't get overwhelmed. But I think the fundamentals of it are super important. And the other thing about astrology too is that when you learn about the symbolism of astrology, you see the world symbolically. And when you see symbolically, you see truthfully, right? So in a lot of, the stories, the narratives, the media, the corporations, the logos, and all of that, you start to see symbolically what the message is that they're trying to convey and how powerful symbolism is. And you're like, whoa, so if you understand symbolism, it can unlock so much for you. So I think that's it's going to be definitely one of the things that I think as we move into this sort of quasi-Aquarian age that we're going into potentially, in helping to further awaken humanity, which is what this period of time is about, is, us waking up.
That's so exciting. I'm really happy to hear that you're working on those projects because it is needed and it will make such a huge difference, with the new ones coming up into this intense realm that we've got here.
Absolutely. Like this, I actually think that most kids born awakened, and then they're taught or educated into a conditioned aspect of reality. So I think it's our job to nurture that awakened, innocent consciousness that comes through. Like I've got a lot of clients because I also do past life regression therapy and energy clearing and healing and quantum sort of energy healing. And I got a lot of clients that have young kids that are very cognizant of their past lives.
Wow.
Hey, mum, do you remember when I was your mum? Sort of stuff. And, like profound things that kids say, which in my generation, that sort of talk would have been very quickly dismissed, discredited and dismissed. Don't be silly, little Johnny. Shh. Oh, you're just seeing things. Oh, that's all in your mind. Or doesn't exist, Whereas it's like, no. You got to listen to that. Ask the right questions. Be curious, not prodding too heavily, but allow them to express because they've got so much knowledge. They haven't yet had the filtering that puts on through schooling, education, and this reality puts so many filters on, whereas they're just, more innocent and they got a lot of information in concept to like where they've been before here, why they're here as well. I had one client asked their son, why did you choose, the mother asked the son, why did you choose me? And he said, because you always believe me. And it was just like this big, like, oh, wow, and that's what he wanted in his life. He wanted someone to believe in him, so yeah, profound stuff.
That is really cool. Yeah. And I think like imagine, when kids come in, they're connected fully, and it's all the stimuli and all the things that we corrupt them with that disconnect them. Imagine instead of corrupting them and shutting that off, we add to that, we would have super beings, like
Yeah. And we're already getting them coming through. We already got them. Like the next 2 generations, I feel like we'll have, whoa, you'll see miracles happening in reality. You'll see gifted people that can do things. You're like, what the hell? Like materialize things, manifest things, potentially dematerialize, and all sorts of weird stuff that you would only ever think of in like some sort of fantasy Hollywood movie. It would be like literally happening.
yeah, totally believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I'm all about empowerment. And one thing I want to like just quickly address with astrology is like, I don't want people to go read their charts and be like, oh my God, this is who I am. This is who I'm going to be forever. Like I want to really emphasize that it's your blueprint, but it's showing you where you need as a soul, where you need to work on in this lifetime. So I'm sure you can share more insight in relation to that?
Yeah, that happens a lot for people that are new to astrology, is they try to fit themselves into the astrology. Astrology is a tool to help with self-awareness. Who am I? Astrology can help you answer some of those questions and to really evolve and, become into an identity or an awareness of who you really are. Whereas you're not saying, oh, I've got Saturn in the 8th house in Scorpio and I'm going to die a horrific death because that's what it means. And it's like you've just taken one little tiny thing, you've misinterpreted and read something you've read in a book or on the internet or something like that, and you're trying to fit yourself to that idea and concept. And it can inadvertently create a lot of anxiety in a lot of people because they're like, oh my God, my thing. I get it all the time, people messaging me on social media saying, I've got this placement. Well, oh my God, what does that mean? It's like, first of all, you're not one thing. I can't just look at one little aspect of you. Like for me, it's like, oh my God, you're bald headed. Like, how do you live with your bald head? It's like, yeah, but I'm a human and I've got all these different attributes and characteristics and personality. Happen to be bald, so what? Like, if we take that little thing and we read it from a polarity of negative or positive, and what does it mean? It's like we're missing the magic of what astrology can help us understand. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that your eternal self, the soul spirit sort of combination of the self that's coming in to evolve, right, uses a vehicle for the expression of itself. And that vehicle is the identity, the physical body and the identity. Who am I? Right. So you might come in here and look at your chart and think, oh shit, I came in a bloody combi that's beat up and rusted up. All right, well, what do I got to do to make that the most fucking amazing combi that's ever fucking driven on Earth? How do I supercharge that and put the fucking slick paint job and fats on it and make it like fucking epic? Like it's still a combi, but now it's my combi, right? So think of astrology like that. Not everyone, and like, well, I wanted a Ferrari. Yeah, but because of your journey through lifetimes, you've only got to the level of combi at the moment. So you can make the world's best fucking combi, but you that's where you're at. That creates this individual expression of infinite consciousness that you are partaking in. That's your little thing. So fucking embrace that, and then evolve that aspect, evolve it, take it and make it fucking brilliant, make it beautiful, make it stunningly amazing, own it, right? That's the vehicle that you have to express yourself. Now, know also that it's not the real you. It's just this part of you that you get to be and play. You get to drive. You fucking combi. Do you want to drive a beat up shitty one that's rusted up and then be like, yeah, but I came in here as a, let's say I came in here as a Capricorn with Saturn conjunct my moon and fucking, Pisces. It's like, yeah, so you can be a victim of your birth chart and say, well, that's why I'm an asshole, or that's why I'm shit, or that's why this, and you're missing the magic of it. It's like the awareness, the understanding, the meaning can then mean, well, I'm going to polish my little vehicle, right? Which the physical body is one of those vehicles. The identity is the other vehicle, because the identity for in this life, I am Luke. That's the name I was giving at birth. That's who people, when they call me, when I refer to me, that's the vehicle that I'm using as a form of identity. But what Luke am I being, right? We're human beings. What am I choosing to be? Well, I'm choosing to evolve this idea and understanding of this Luke, right? And that's my vehicle. But when I transition, the memory of Luke will live on and the loved ones I've left behind, but that's just fucking it. That's it. There's no more Luke after that. That was just that little lifetime that I lived. I jumped in the Luke car and I got to be Luke for a bit. So Luke was, vertically challenged, follically challenged. Fucking, he rocked that shit. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just the vehicle. I mean, it's not really who I am, because that part of me, that doesn't go on. That's not the part, right? Like, it's like when we die, our body dies, yes, because it's physical and the physical exists and is temporal. So it has to come to its end. But the part of me, the essence, the soul, the eternal aspect of me is eternal, right? No one ever dies. It's like we're energetic beings, and energy can't be destroyed nor created. It can only be, transformed. So we transform. So to tie that all back into, basis of the question, it's like your astrology helps to look at, well, what is the vehicle I've chosen for this life? Based on what? Based on my karmic journey so far, right? Maybe I've had shitty lifetimes and I've really suffered and I've really rejected myself, or I've had to survive through, selling my body or working hard or, sacrificing to a loved one or something like that. So then I've got a lot of karmic, energetic disruptions and, imbalances to work through. So I've got this vehicle, and that's going to allow me to work through my karma. So I can polish my combi into the brightest, fucking super fastest, most amazing, immaculate, fucking, just that people go, what the fuck is that? Still a combi, but that's what I've become, because I haven't allowed the identification with that to be, oh, well, I'm just this, and that's how it's always going to be. I haven't become a victim of it. I've used it to empower myself and to evolve myself, but also holding this little tiny concept and idea is like, it's not really real anyway. It's not really, like, it's just this little bit, and then we're done with that car. So is that vehicle going to be then allowing us to upgrade in further reincarnations? Hopefully, right? If we've been able to bank some positive karma and work through and resolve some negative karma, then we naturally evolve, right? And souls are all different stages of evolution. We can categorize them into 4 types, but they're all different stages of evolution. Sometimes a soul devolves, goes backwards in evolution because of really difficult negative karma, or a huge amount of negative dharma that they build up in a lifetime. So they do fucking horrible things. They act out of their dysfunctional habits and patterns, and they create extreme harm to themselves and others. You would find them devolving. And now they were in a shitty, rusty combi, and now they're in a, Dado 120Y that's like that. It's like, fuck, you got some work to do. You got some work to do, right? So just a way to think about it.
Yeah, no, I think that's super important to address, because I think even with myself, I've had moments where I'm like, oh, is this what I have to deal with the rest of my life? And I'm like, no, it's not, like, that's not how to look at it. So yeah, thanks for explaining that. It was really useful for people to have that understanding of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's evolved expressions, there's unevolved expressions, there's really dysfunctional negative expressions, there's positive expressions, and then there's the transcendental expressions. So the becoming and the most heightened spiritual application or expression of that energy. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to be the Buddha, right? That's going to take evolutions of lifetimes for that process. Sometimes people are on a expedited fast track journey to that, and they're abstaining from anything that's egoic or physical or desire based. And but for the vast majority of us, just be where you're at. Don't heap too much pressure on yourself, but evolve, work on yourself, choose to become a little bit better every day. In your self awareness, in the way you automatically respond, your subconscious expressions and things like that. Like do the work. If you look into the world at the moment, you don't like the way it looks and the way humanity has become and the disconnection that's happening and all of the whatever the circus is that's happening, then that's an opportunity to look back in here and say, well, okay, I got some work to do. I got some work to do on myself. Because as you grow and evolve and as you change, your world will change as a direct relationship to that evolution. And we've been taught and conditioned for a very long time that we have no power to make any change here. And that power is actually within us to make changes here. And that's, again, to tie us back into this whole like transition that we're coming through from September 11 to COVID and all of that. Is like, we're evolving, so we are evolving. Don't allow the narrative, the story, the media, the information to deter you from that. We're absolutely evolving. So I've known that since 2018 to now. When I started speaking online about astrology in 2018, it was like, it wasn't fuck all accounts, people talking about it. And now it's just like the opposite. It's just so one can judge, oh, it's this or it's that. So, hey, it's awareness, it's bringing light, right? And it also reinforces this idea that collectively we're asking questions. We're asking questions. We're not necessarily buying into what we've been taught or told. We're starting to really push back on that. So it's going to mean huge things for humanity to make this next sort of evolutionary leap in consciousness.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, astrologically, you can see that happening too. You know, we're in the age of Aquarius, and that one brings me to my next question is, how's 2024 looking? Like, are there any important alignments that we need to be aware of? Like, what's your kind of take on this year?
Yeah, so think alchemical for the transmutation of like period or change type period. Before you get some new expression of energy, you have the breakdown of the heavier sort of base materials of whatever that was that we're transmuting into something of a higher expression, right? So the final stage of that alchemical process is a real sort of agitation and breakdown process. It really where everything starts to start to go a bit chaotic before the emergence of something new. So in 2025 and 6 in particular, we have a lot of new type energy, conscious energy coming through. And that's sort of represented by all of the outer planets known as the transformational or generational or sub or unconscious planets, the planets that correlate to aspects of the collective unconsciousness. All of them changing signs together. So within about a 6 or 7 month period in 2025, every planet, so Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto will make an ingress into a new sign. Pluto's already doing it. It started last year, 2023. It's going to be more so this year, and then into 2020, at the end of 2024, it's finally done with Capricorn. So it's already sort of ahead of the game, so to speak. But then we have Neptune changing signs, Uranus changing signs, Saturn changing signs, Jupiter changing signs, but all happening all together. So 2025 and 2026 in particular, and 7 maybe, are really like brand new type sort of aspects of consciousness and more evolutionary, more futuristic, more inventive, more awakened, definitely more sort of like awareness coming in to integrate into the human experience. 2024 is that period of like transition between where we've been and what's coming. So because of that, I would say that we're going to have a pretty chaotic year. Chaos in the sense of unpredictability, things happening quickly, a lot of changes, a lot of we've also got the lunar nodes now, North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra. And you know, the North Node being in Aries means that Mars is the ruling planet of that North Node. So the evolutionary process of growth happening through Mars and Aries energy tends to be like fiery, conflict, upheaval, spontaneous ignition of things, like abrupt energy, like in your face. And if we watch Mars through 2024, it's making an alignment to every outer planet this year. And then at the end of the year, it goes retrograde. So we're going to have a lot of spark onto a lot of sublying tension that's going to create a lot of like, whoa, what the hell just happened? Wow, that just happened. That's happening. And already this year, like we started with pretty big earthquakes in Japan, followed by the air collision, which were very symbolically connected astrologically to what was happening at that time. And then we've had the Epstein sort of stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that was kept from the collective consciousness. It was more concealed or subversive or hidden. That's starting to come into awareness, which is definitely representative of a lot of Pluto moving towards Aquarius. And we can speak specifically on that if you'd like. Then you had also, you know, there's a lot of misdirection and deception and a little bit of like, is it real or isn't it real? And that was the stuff that happened in Miami. And it was like this police response that was huge. And was it for fireworks or shooting, or was it for aliens or what? And this uncertainty about it. It's like, oh, what's going on? But what it does create is it creates this sort of like, whoa, shock. What the hell is happening? So you're going to see more of that, especially the first quarter of this year, moving up to the big eclipse that happens in April. And then from that eclipse in April, it really will depend on what's occurring around worldwide events at that time as to sort of what beyond April looks like. But we do have, after April, Jupiter changing signs into Gemini. Jupiter is an energy that it brings a lot of expansion and brings a lot more focus into certain things and makes them bigger. Right, so Gemini, Jupiter is said to be in debilitation because it's in the sign opposite its rulership, which is Sagittarius. Sagittarius, it's ruled on big ideas, objectives, the future, visions, ideals, belief systems. When Gemini is dealing with information. So we're definitely going to have from May forward a lot of information coming to light and a lot going on and a lot of like exposure to like perspectives. And it's, well, what's it? Is it this or is it that? The Gemini quality of the twins is like, there's one thing here, which is the truth. It's really going to amplify all the Mercury retrogrades from May onwards. They're going to be like supercharged Mercury retrograde periods. To navigate that, whenever there's times of upheaval or chaos, which is unpredictability, it's always about finding your center, being aligned, being grounded, so that you can, be open and flexible to change. You're not rigid in your either belief system or your plans, right? You're open to things happening and changing, and you're not looking to sort of see any challenge or limitation or restrictions or things happening as oh, that means then I can't do that, or that means then that's not supposed to happen. It's like, no, sometimes the path to get to where we want to go is not a direct, straight line. Sometimes we've got to go around and we've got to, navigate, and we've got to make changes. And I think this year is find your center, right? Stay grounded in that. Be open to what's happening, but don't be attached to it in some way. There's going to be a lot of potential for polarization. So polarization is like, I've attached to some sort of idea, belief, story. And now because of that, I'm over here. So I'm going to be opposed by whatever the opposite of that is. You can already see that with regards to the conflict in the Middle East with Israel, Palestine. It's like this polarity that's really emerging. To navigate successfully this year, depolarize yourself, become detached from the stories, have awareness. That doesn't mean that you condone human suffering or that you're pro this or anti that. It just means that, hey, all human suffering and all innocent killing and or harming and anything like that is bad. Doesn't matter who's causing it. And I can, like I said earlier, you can hold two things as being true at the same time. Like, I don't get involved in that whilst at the same time saying it's all fucking fucked. We shouldn't be doing that to people, right? So that's sort of a place to be, is to sort of be in your own grounded alignment, but also be open to things and not necessarily being like, oh my God, did you see this? And that's what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's like, just allow this alchemical process of, breakdown, almost agitation, mutation to happen, and things get a little chaotic and crazy because it'll create the energetics or the environment for the energetics for the rebirth of new stuff to come through. So this would be a really good year to work on, your behind the scenes stuff, the things that give you a really firm foundation, whatever you're working on, whether it's within yourself, with your work, with your goals, with your ambitions, with your relationships, whatever it is. Get grounded, stay simple, keep it really focused and simple, accept that there's going to be change, so that when we emerge into 25 and 26, which depending on how we integrate the changes this year will depend on what they look like, you're rock solid, right? You're rock solid to be able to utilize the shift in consciousness energy that's really going to come through in those 2 years. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting, exciting year. The first quarter of this year in particular, there's a lot of big energetic shifts happening after the new moon tomorrow. And then Pluto moving signs activated by the sun, by Mars, by all the inner planets hit Pluto as it moves into Aquarius. It's really going to bring a lot of stuff into awareness, into the public awareness. Uranus is, Aquarius is like the collective consciousness. It's the awakened mind of humanity. So Pluto in there is going to bring a lot of things to light. A lot of things from the Platonic realm, which is the unconscious, are going to come into consciousness collectively. And when that happens, people can tend to be overwhelmed and freak out a lot. So be mindful of that. On the back of that, we're probably going to see a lot of changes, systemic changes, systemic changes in politics, in the economics, in, corporate changes, celebrity changes. We're probably going to see a lot of celebrity, taking the stage left. A lot of changes. So yeah, how do you move through a period of extreme change? You fucking find your rock and stay grounded in that, and you just be open and go, okay, that's happening now, so we go with it. Don't try and to hang on to what was. It's like we have to let go of what was to create what could be, and that's what we're going to do.
Mm. I think I read somewhere that the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was like in the 1700s or something. Is that right?
So no one alive today in physical body has experienced Pluto and Aquarius, because it was like, the time of the American independence, the French Revolution. So Pluto in Aquarius is very revolutionary energy for humanity, for people, for communities and groups. And Uranus in Gemini is also an indicator for that same type of revolutionary change. So next year, they both are in Gemini and Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius and Uranus is in Gemini. Both air signs, like lots of change. And the change in the consciousness of the people, when you become aware of what you weren't aware of, and then you realize what you weren't aware of was because it was, concealed from you intently, like it creates a little bit of like, well, what the fuck, So imagine worldwide, what the fuck, and people will act out on that. And the less evolved or less consciously aware someone is, the more they're going to react. So if that's happening and there is sort of instability, pull back from that. Not your fight. Not your fight. Just stay out of all of that drama. Stay out of that polarization and that opposition. The divide and conquer type symbolism. So yeah, it's time. If we want to really evolve, we've got to learn how to overcome differences, right? We've got to learn how to overcome the polarity, right? So how do we do that? We take the middle path, right? We take the middle path. I'm not that or that. I can be this, I don't have to identify with one or the other. It's Republican and Democrat. It's Palestine, it's Israel, it's Russia, it's Ukraine. It's the same thing always, right? So how do you end that drama? You find the middle path and transcend both of those stories. You're not engaging in it. And whilst you do act out from polarization, you're feeding the very opposite of what you don't want. Like energetically, you're feeding energy into that polarity. So when you say, oh no, I'm this, and you go, but we shouldn't be doing that, shouldn't be doing that, you're inadvertently energetically charging up whatever the opposition to that is. So it's like what you resist persists. That's exactly why energetically you're feeding the very thing you don't want. So stop putting the energy into that. If you really wanted like a peace and an end to the conflict and an end to the whatever they've said is the problem, you've got to let go of both. You've got to find the center and overcome both. So opportunity for that, and for that's what's going to really change things. Because if we don't, and we keep playing this us against them or Democrat Republican type stories, whatever they are, we just stay trapped at that level of consciousness. So we really, if you really want change here, you've got to find a way to depolarize and overcome both, and whatever that means.
Well said. Yeah, right. So 2024 is like the preparation for stepping into 25 and 26, which is new and better ways of being and living, pretty much is what I see it. Yeah.
Absolutely. New ways to interact, new ways to relate, to connect, an integration of what's been happening collectively, consciously since, well, for probably a long time, but it's been expedited certainly since September 11. And then another sort of wave was the COVID, story. So what happens is people have an awakened, experience. Then they start to shift their awareness and they start to really look at things differently. you got to integrate that awareness now and what your new belief system may or may not be, and what you see the world, and what the better, response to reality, on the way to live and how to be and how to interact and how to relate. You've got to take that awareness and you've got to apply it into action in the world. You've got to actually live it. And this is illustrated beautifully in the cosmic clock, that's the zodiac, which we have the zodiac, Aquarius and Capricorn. And both Aquarius and Capricorn are the only two signs ruled by one planet that are next to each other. They're side by side. Every other zodiac sign that's ruled by, like, say, Venus rules Taurus and Libra, and they're separated. The sun and moon only get one sign each, which is the sun in Leo and the moon in Cancer. Then you have Gemini has Virgo and Gemini. Mercury has Virgo and Gemini, and they're separated. Mars has Scorpio and Aries, and they're separated. So Jupiter has Sagittarius and Pisces, they're separated. Saturn, Aquarius, and Capricorn. With Aquarius, it's the motto is I know. So what's happened since 2020, for example, is a lot of are woken up to knowing. Before 2020, I believed the government did the right thing and had our best interests at heart. After 2020, I know they don't. So I have a knowing now. I have this awareness, this awakened consciousness. I have to then take it across to Capricorn and do, right? And Capricorn's motto is do, because when you apply knowing and doing, you beget wisdom. You become a very wise person, because now you know, but now you're not a know-it-all. You actually do it. And what that doing does is it creates this sort of humbled approach to life and existence and reality, very simple approach to things, because you fucking know now. And Capricorn is hard work, because to take your knowing and actually live it authentically, it's fucking hard work, right? It's easy to judge. It's easy to give advice. It's easy to tell people what to do. It's hard to then integrate that into your own changes in your life and reality. So now is an opportunity for those that have had the knowing, the shift in awareness, the conscious awakening since COVID or September 11, or when they've had their awakening, take that awareness and put it into action, into the physical world, and walk your path. Don't be out there judging others for not walking theirs or telling people what they should or shouldn't be doing. Fucking just look in the mirror and just make a commitment, Capricorn commitment, to evolve your knowing into being, right? And then you are the authority. Saturn is the authority of the zodiac. He's the author. He's the authority, right? He's the boss. He rules time. He rules the physical world. His signs are together. Saturn is Kronos. Saturn is the crown, and you become the crown, because you don't walk to the beat of someone else's drum or story. You say, hey, I'm writing my own story. And I know, because I've had my shift in awareness, my awakening, my Aquarius consciousness expansion, I know what I need to do and how I need to be to live here authentically in this life. And I've taken that knowing and I put it into action. And I create this sort of evolved human, in spite of what the fuck is going on in the world, because there's going to be chaos. There's going to be upheaval. There's going to be shit to be taking you off your center. So you really got to be authentically aligned at the moment and integrating that into being in this world, and then act as if, walk your path, right? All of the shit that's going to break down has to break down. Let it go. Right? Ideas and concepts and like hopes and wishes and dreams that it was, and go back to let it all go. We got to recreate a new way to live on this earth. And that's what's at stake here for us, I feel. So
very, very relevant, because I mean, the last few years have been a big eye opener, information overload, people really changing their beliefs, their perspectives, what they really thought this life was about has also changed. And now it's like, now let's apply that knowledge and what you gained in those last few years and live your truth, sort of thing. And it's just, yeah, it's amazing how you explained it all, because that's what I didn't even realize until you started saying it. That's what I'm seeing happen as well, so It's
Yeah.
it's exciting. And it needs to happen. Like all these events that are occurring in the world are just catalysts for that, for us to see what's really there and
Yeah.
acknowledge what needs to change and what needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're moving through 2024 and you're looking at a lot of things like upheaval and change and like what the fuck,
Mm.
hold in the mind that that's a good thing. That is a representation in the material world of fucking change, rapid change, right? Things changing. So that is reflective of what? People changing,
Mm.
right? Because as within, so without. The outer world is the place of manifestation. So when things change in the outer world, that's because initially what's happened is the change is occurring individually, consciously, individually. So don't be like, oh my God, what's happening in the world? It's all changing. Go, oh, good. It's all changing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So what the personal sort of story to that is like, well, what are you creating out of this change? So don't allow or wait or hold around to that, be the change by saying, okay, well, I'm going to co-create my reality now in my world. And I'm going to choose my state of being, irrespective of what's happening. I'm told I should be afraid of this or scared of that or pro this or against that. Actually, I can choose to be who the fuck I want to be and how I want to be. I can choose my state. What do I need to do to create a state of being that's going to hold this aligned sort of peace, empowerment, love as a frequency? What do I need to do every day to reinforce that state? Like, how do I need to wake up in the morning? What do I need to give my time and energy to? What do I need to let go of and stop doing? What's not part of this, process? What's part of my old process? And doing that sort of analyzing and reflecting and then refinement to your personal way of being, there's a lot of opportunity to do that this year. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's the old saying goes, change yourself and you can change the world.
I use the Michael Jackson lyric all the time, which is, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Because I'm thinking back to man in the mirror, and now I'm asking him to change his ways. Right? It's like, irrespective of what he was like and what he was into or not into and what they said he was and whether he's alive or isn't alive, there's some good fucking lyrics right there.
I'm sure a lot of people will really take on board a lot of the information that you've provided. So you mentioned that you do read like readings, energy. Yeah, what kind of things do you do and how can people find you? How can they get in with you?
Yeah. So most people are like, well, why would I need an astrology reading? And it's
Mm.
like, well, what questions do you have about your life and your challenges and your difficulties? And what are you working on and how you want to evolve? And be very specific, because if you come into a reading like astrology thinking it's like a psychic reading and they're going to tell you your future or prophesize what might or might not happen, it's nothing like that at all. It's like being like, hey, the best use of astrology is say, look, I've got this challenge. I really have this problem with insecurity around money. Okay, well, let's look into your birth chart, your energetic makeup, and let's look to help find that story. And where does that come from? Where is it being reinforced? And where is that pattern? And how do we evolve through that pattern? How do we let that pattern go? So that's an example of the use of astrology. It can be very, very specific. Anything in life experience can be looked at your chart and help to bring that awareness. So in the sessions and readings that I do between November and January every year, I do the forecasting for people for the year ahead. So I look at all the major themes and cycles that we're going through collectively and individually, and I help people sort of get a bit of a big picture concept of their year ahead. And then I do personal readings. So again, around specific things. A lot of stuff that I deal with is relationship challenges, whether they're in a relationship that's difficult and they're having a hard time coming to some sort of change within it, whether they're not in a relationship, they're looking for one, or whether they've just come out of one, and helping people sort of put themselves back together and realize they're not broken, they're worthy of love and what they want and who they are, and then helping them integrate that either into their existing relationships or to get out of a relationship or to form new relationships. And that relationship might be intimate, it might be family, it might be friend, it might be work related. But we're always in relationship to something in our life, and helping people have better relationships is probably one of my niches when it comes to just normal astrology. And then I also do like energetic clearings, which is like a quantum Reiki style stuff that I've evolved through my own experiences and trainings over the years. So basically, it's like grounding people and clearing them energetically and getting their anxiety and depression in check and things like that. Helping them feel really grounded and aligned. And then also do past life regression therapy. So I'm trained as a quantum hypnosis, healing hypnosis technician. So it's Dolores Cannon's technique. And I can do that remotely online or in person where I am on Tugun on the Gold Coast, which is amazing work. And it really supplements the astrology, because often in the astrology, we reveal a very deep embedded unconscious pattern that has no reason for existence, or event that we can look for in this life where that may have come from. And a lot of the time it's because it's a past life pattern that's being brought forward. And when we do past life therapy, we can literally go back into past life experiences, bring a lot of awareness, do a lot of healing, and then communicate directly with someone's subconscious to get very specific information and ask for healing. And also, for person's life, their challenges and their future, we can communicate with their higher intelligence through their subconscious. So that works amazing work as well. I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. Yeah, that's basically what I do. So astrology, regression, and energy clearing. Yeah, and I can do all of those online, and I can do all of them face to face here in my home office here on the Gold Coast.
Nice. And if they want to book in, do they just go to your website, or how?
Yeah. So you can reach out always on social media. I'm very available. So it's just my name, Luke Balcke, on my Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. I have a Facebook page. And my website is the same, lukebalcke.com. And you can directly book. You can find my online schedule online as well. So if you anywhere in the world, it's in their time zone. So you can look at my schedule in your own time zone and book directly online, pay everything, does it all automatically. I have a lot of clients in North America and the UK and South Africa and Asia and Europe as well. So, which is amazing. It's really good. Very fortunate for that. So yeah, I love what I do. And my desire to do it is because when I woke up, when I went through all of the change that I went through, it was 2014 and 15 in particular. And I did that alone without the support. I did that just fumbling through the darkness on my own. And the more I looked in my immediate environment for those closest to me to support me, they couldn't, because they were just at a place of unawareness with what I was going through. So I made, a commitment to myself that once I got through all of that, that's what I'm here to do, is to help people bridge between the old and the new, and to hold their hand through that process and tell them, you're not fucking crazy. You're just waking up and you've got this, and keep going. And you're here to be a fucking brilliant, amazing, fucking fast, luxurious combi, maybe, or maybe a Ferrari, or who knows, right? But like, once you embrace that aspect of yourself, you find just peace and freedom. I don't really give a fuck what other people think of me anymore. I already think of myself a certain way, and I'm looking at my chart to help me understand and evolve that. And I'm here to help people do the same, So it's like you find peace in that. I don't care what people think of me. And in today's environment, especially social media, you need that sort of ability to be able to grow and evolve, because you're going to get a lot of, people's opinions, advice, perspectives, comments, all sorts, good, bad, and indifferent. And you got to be able to not really attach to any of it, but, oh, that's nice for a compliment. Or someone, like I get all the time, because I do some videos on my social media around just archetypal, stereotypical astrology stuff. And people come and go, oh, astrology is a load of shit. It's like, thanks for that comment. Like, I'm really going to question my career choices now, my life direction, based on that information. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Like, what the fuck? You get to that point where you're just like, I don't care zero fucks what people think of me, because I know who I am, because I've awakened to that, And that's not to say that I am driving my super luxurious fucking flat out V8 combi yet, but I'm working on it. I've got it on the hoist in the garage, and I'm working on it.
Oh, Love that. Thank you for sharing your story and your wisdom. And I think I will definitely have you on many times to to give us, I don't know, updates on what's happening and how people can navigate through like all the stuff that's going on. And I feel people should really make use of your abilities because we are going through some transitions and there are certain things involved in that, like the past life stuff and understanding your chart. So I do hope people get in touch with you, make a big
I
difference.
appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. And we're certainly going to have a lot to talk about, especially this year and next year. And then also with regards to astrology and spirituality and regression therapy and all those things, it's not a one size fits all. It's not like you have to do it. But if you're drawn to it and you've got questions and you're looking for answers, it's a useful tool to help in that process. And there are many useful tools, all forms of spirituality. Even religion can be useful in certain ways. And then all of the different like meditation practices and transcendental meditations and breathing exercises and cold plunges and all that, they're all supplementary to this process of human evolution. So it's not like, oh, I did that and now that's it. It's like let's explore all this, different dynamics, which are all helping us answer the same question: is who the fuck am I and what am I doing here? So and you may not ever find the answer, but you'll find a lot of answers along the pathway. And then you really get to a certain point where you are stepping onto your personal soul's path of evolution. And I believe that is what's called the stairway to heaven, right? And that, there are many paths to go on. And we're all at some point coming to the awakening of stepping onto that path. And I feel that path transcends human existence in lifetimes. So once you fundamentally, consciously step onto your path, I think you're on your path now. And yeah, you might from time to time need a little bit of support and guidance to stay on the path. But I think that path, when you transition at the end of this life, you're on your path
Mm.
and you're going to go on your path and you're going to keep on your path and nothing's going to take you off your path because you realize that path, that's the path to liberation. That's the path to enlightenment. That's the path to freedom. No other freedom exists really except the freedom of the soul to be able to sing like a bird, fly.
Mm.
So yeah, that's exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's very exciting times. I feel, us being here right now with all the alignments and everything going on in the world, we all have a role to play with this new earth that is coming into being. And there's a reason why we're here right now. So we need to take advantage of, information that you provide and services that you provide and to continue that progress and that way forward and make use of our abilities. So it's a really exciting time.
Oh, it's so exciting. I'm so motivated and inspired by humanity, even though a lot of the shit is still there, you know. I'm just like, because I look and I go, wow, where were we in 2001? Like, where were we in 2012? Where were we in 2020? Where were we now? Like, it's exciting. Now, with great change doesn't mean that there's not going to be casualties, and we've already seen post-COVID a lot of casualties. Absolutely, there are going to be a lot of casualties, but you've got to come to this place of just, you know what, wherever that soul is positioning that human body at that time, that's where they're meant to be, and that's the experiences that are going to be good for their growth as a soul for whatever reason, whether it's a horrific ending to life or a brand new rebirth into something brand new. It's like that's the soul's chosen that path.
Mm.
So I'm really inspired by where we're at, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun looking at like the all everyone's little combis starting to shine up a little bit. It's like, oh wow, this is good. And I'm like that guy that sort of can stand in the mechanic shop and go, you know what, like you don't put that front end on, put this is your front end, put this on, this is way better, look at that. And then go, oh, I can do that. Fuck yeah, you can do that. Look at this here. And it's supported by their astrology. And you're like, here, put that fender on. You change that engine. Why don't you use this stereo system? Think of it. I find it useful for people to think symbolically like that because it's like, yeah, that's you came here to express that, like to bring that to light, into the physical world. That's fucking exciting because when we're all like fucking shining brightly like that, we evolve. We evolve rapidly too. So exciting time.
Very exciting. I think you found your calling, Luke. Like you're helping people, I guess, come back to themselves, but come back to like their higher selves, or the best version, I guess is the best way to say. And that's like huge.
Yeah, and I was a pest controller for 20 years. So um, if I can go from pest control to this, you can do anything. You can do anything. There is no limitation except self-imposed limitation. And I imposed a lot in my past sort of, this life Mark 1, to the point now I'm so much more easy on myself. And, just I have so much more joy and happiness and fulfillment, with less stuff, less need for things. It's more about experiences and relationships and connections, and that's what's fulfilling for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And as you go on your journey and your path, you really start to realize what matters and what brings that fulfillment and true happiness. And I'm learning and realizing that as well, that my connections with others and who I'm being and what I'm putting out there gives me more satisfaction, more fulfillment than anything else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing else matters. We've been conditioned to think that everything else matters and we need it. How do we get it? Who do I need to be to get it? Only to get it to realize that's not where it is. True
Mm,
happiness is found within. When you're at peace in here, you don't need a lot of shit.
no.
You don't. I mean, you can enjoy the pleasures of the material world, absolutely, but you just enjoy them a little differently.
Mm,
Um, so, and you don't have this desire or need to have it to feel some sort of sense of achievement or recognition or accomplishment. You're more like, this is a reflection of this accomplishment, not necessarily the purpose for the accomplishment, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because like usually every year when like you have your New Year's resolution, your goals, and you write them down. This year, like I sat down and I was like, what do I want this year? What do I want in life? And all I could come up with is I just want to be happy and content. Whatever that means, whatever that is, I just want to be that. Whatever I need to do, like nothing else came to me, and I was like, "This is weird. What's going on?" I should have all these ideas, like make this much money, get this car, like, and none of that was coming to me. It was like, I just want whatever will make me happy. And then I have to figure out what those things are. So I'm just going through a little self-realization phase, like what really makes me happy.
My year ahead goal is inner peace. Like, what does that look like? Well, shit, I don't know. Just content, fulfillment, happiness, joy. So we can have that reflected in experiences or things, absolutely. But ultimately, it's about finding that within us and just being happy and choosing that as well, like making that choice. Because sometimes we're faced with difficult situations and hardships and challenges and endings and deaths and transitions and things. And it's like, even in all of those, you could get to still choose how you're being and your state, and that's true empowerment. So without letting our circumstances dictate that's challenging but also rewarding as well. But
Mm.
yeah, you definitely find that the more you evolve, the less stuff you need. you know so
Mm. Well, thank you, Luke. I really appreciate your time and sharing everything that you've shared for everyone today. I'm sure I will have you definitely on again.
I'd love to come back on. Yeah, it was really good to come on. Thank you for the invite. Really nice to connect, even though it's digitally. But that's the way of this age, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So you embrace that aspect of technology. It's fantastic. But yeah, no, I really appreciate time as well. So thank you.
no problem. And I'm sure you'll get a bit busy after this.
No doubt. It's going to be a big year. I've already started the year like very busy. I didn't take much time off professionally over the Christmas New Year break, being there for people that are also taking their time off, so they're able to access me. So I've still got another few weeks of the year ahead readings to do. So people can still book in for those right up until the end of January, and then they sort of transition out. We start to really embrace this year. But we've got some big alignments this year in February, and then April, May in particular are going to be pretty huge. So
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting
Maybe
time.
we'll do one like mid-year as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. We can have a look. We can reflect on the first half, and then we can sort of go based on that. Let's sort of now really have a look at what's to come, in context to the cosmic clock. The evolutionary cycle, which is determined and predicted by the movement of the stars.
Wow, exciting.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Dee.